Inom! Hoy! Grabe kusuga! Holy! Oh!
Late Monday night, as millions slept across western Turkey, the earth suddenly awakened with violent force. At 6.1 magnitude, a powerful earthquake struck the Sindirgi district of Balıkesir, sending shockwaves across cities more than 90 miles away, even rattling homes on Lesvos Island in Greece. Windows shattered. Alarms wailed. Families ran into the streets barefoot, clutching children and phones, desperate to know what had just happened. It was 10:48 p.m. local time, and panic spread faster than the shaking ground. Tonight, Turkey stands in fear and disbelief once again. Buildings that had survived previous quakes finally gave way. Dozens were injured fleeing collapsing structures, and aftershocks continue to pound the region, keeping residents awake, alert, and terrified to go back indoors. This is a country that knows this nightmare all too well, but each time the ground breaks open, the trauma begins again. More updates ahead. Stay with us.
Günün ilk ışıkları. Bir Allah'ın kulu. Evet, mutlu.
The quake struck without warning, ripping through the quiet Monday night. In Sindirgi, the epicenter, the shaking was so violent that residents described the ground as rolling like a wave. Surveillance footage captured buildings swaying, bricks falling, and storefront signs crashing to the sidewalks below. In just a few seconds, a peaceful district was thrown into chaos. More than 20 people were injured, many hurt, while scrambling to escape their homes. Several apartment complexes, already weakened by a series of tremors over the past months, finally gave way, collapsing into piles of dust and steel. A two-story shop folded in on itself. Entire families fled into the cold night air, wrapped only in blankets, refusing to step back inside until daylight. Power flickered out across neighborhoods. Emergency phone lines jammed. The sounds of sirens and terrified voices filled the darkness. The shaking didn't stop there. Aftershocks, some strong enough to knock loose debris, rattled the region throughout the night. Parents held their children close, standing outside for hours, staring at their homes and wondering if they would ever feel safe inside them again. For Sindirgi, it was not just an earthquake, it was a brutal reminder that life can shift forever in a matter of seconds.
Antakya burası şu an. Yıkım.
As the dust settled and alarms blared through Balıkesir province, thousands of families found themselves thrust into a terrifying reality. No one knew if another deadly jolt was coming next. In Sindirgi, neighbors rushed door to door with flashlights, pulling confused residents outside as walls cracked behind them. One mother clutched her two children barefoot on the pavement, saying, "We thought the roof was coming down on us. I just grabbed them and ran." Hospitals overflowed not with major trauma, but with anxious, shaking survivors suffering panic attacks, broken bones from frantic escapes, and breathing difficulty from clouds of dust. Doctors treated patients in parking lots when buildings were deemed unsafe. Search and rescue teams used drones and thermal cameras to scan collapsed structures. In one dramatic scene, responders broke through a buckled storefront to reach a trapped shopkeeper communicating through shattered glass as aftershocks made the building tremble. Across the region, people huddled in cars parks and open fields, anywhere away from the threat of falling concrete. Parents held their kids tight, whispering reassurances they barely believed themselves. Stores opened their doors to distribute bottled water and blankets without charge. For hours, everyone stayed awake, staring into the darkness, listening for the next rumble in the earth. The fear was not just of what had happened, but what still could. When the shaking began, panic spread faster than the quake itself. Families sprinted from their homes barefoot, clutching children and phones, unsure if the next violent jolt would bring the walls down. Screams echoed through the streets of Sindirgi as windows shattered and bricks rained from balconies. For some, memories of past tragedies came rushing back, wounds still fresh from the devastating quakes of recent years. Over 20 people were injured, many while scrambling down staircases or jumping from balconies in the chaos. Hospitals across Balıkesir activated emergency protocols treating injuries and comforting those shaken by fear. Volunteers handed out blankets to families camping outside, too terrified to return indoors. One shop owner standing beside his collapsed building held back tears. "I rebuilt once. I don't know if I can do it again." His words reflect a growing trauma that grips the nation. Every tremor is a reminder that life can change in seconds. And yet, amid the fear, courage emerged. Neighbors helped each other search for pets, elderly residents, and precious belongings. Rescue teams worked through the night, moving slab by slab, determined that no one would be left behind. For Turkey, earthquakes are not just geological events. They are tests of endurance, of community, of hope. Within minutes of the first jolt, Turkey's emergency network came alive. Sirens, radios, and cell alerts activated across Balıkesir and nearby provinces. AFAD, the National Disaster Authority, deployed rapid response crews with search dogs and thermal cameras to locate anyone trapped inside damaged buildings. Firefighters and police cordoned off unstable structures, fearing powerful aftershocks could bring them down. The Interior Ministry confirmed that hundreds of personnel were dispatched to Sindirgi overnight, clearing debris, restoring road access, and setting up heating tents as temperatures began to drop. Engineers and structural inspectors fanned out across the city, marking homes unfit for re-entry and urging residents to remain outdoors until further notice. Hospitals called in extra doctors and trauma counselors to support the injured and the emotionally shaken. Free emergency lodging, food, and blankets were distributed at schools, and sports halls converted into shelters. Airports in Istanbul and Izmir conducted quick runway inspections, and while flights resumed, authorities warned travelers to expect delays. Meanwhile, utility crews worked around the clock to restore power and reinforce weakened poles. From national leaders to local volunteers, Turkey has mobilized with urgency, determined to prevent this night from becoming another chapter of mass tragedy.
Allah'ım her yer yıkıldı. Allah'ım Allah.
Meydandaydım, ben ev yıkıldı ya.
Allah. Deprem oluyor.
Turkey sits on one of the most dangerous geological crossroads on Earth. The country is squeezed between the massive Eurasian plate to the north and the Arabian plate pressing from the south. This constant pressure forces Turkey westward, and when the strain becomes too great, the land violently shifts, releasing energy as earthquakes. The 6.1 magnitude quake in Sindirgi struck at a shallow depth of roughly 6 miles close to the surface, which is why the shaking felt so intense. Experts say shallow quakes amplify destruction, especially in older buildings not strengthened to modern seismic standards. Scientists have recorded more than 12,000 earthquakes in this region since August, a staggering signal that stress is building underground. Seismologists warn these swarms could be precursors to something stronger, especially near Istanbul, home to more than 15 million people. A major rupture there could be catastrophic. The jolt also revived fears linked to painful history. 2023 brought Turkey its deadliest disaster of the 21st century, twin earthquakes that killed more than 53,000 people. Those events forever reshaped the nation's understanding of risk and urgency. While scientists can identify fault lines and track ground motion, they still can't predict the exact moment the Earth will strike back. That uncertainty is what keeps Turkey alert, and what turned an ordinary night into a terrifying reminder that the next big quake could come at any time.
Este edificio se movió horrible.
Earthquakes are not strangers to Turkey. They are part of its geography, history, and identity. But every strong tremor reopens wounds that have barely healed. For many in Sindirgi, the shaking wasn't only physical. It brought back the fear of February 2023 when tens of thousands never returned home. It echoed 1999 when the ground shifted beneath Istanbul and changed the nation forever. Despite decades of reforms, experts warn that millions still live in buildings not designed to withstand powerful quakes. Engineers repeatedly stress that construction quality, not magnitude, is what determines survival. You can't negotiate with tectonic plates, said one seismologist, but you can prepare for them. This earthquake, though far less destructive than Turkey's worst disasters, carries a message: time is running out. Pressure is building along the North Anatolian Fault, the same fault threatening Istanbul, home to more than 15 million people. Scientists unanimously agree a major quake, there is not a matter of if, but when. Tonight, the damage may be limited, but the anxiety is not. In a nation forever balancing between beauty and danger, this event reminds the world that preparedness is not optional. It is survival.
Antakya burası şu an. Yıkım.
Affet ya Rabbi, ya Rabbi, affet ya Rabbi.
As the dust settles over Sindirgi and emergency crews begin the long hours of damage assessments, one truth stands unshaken: this could have been far worse. Turkey's people are strong, resilient, and united. But resilience alone cannot hold buildings upright when the earth decides to move. Tonight, families sleep in their cars or gather around radios waiting for updates and hoping the aftershocks fade. Mothers hold children a little closer. Communities comfort each other not only because they must, but because they know what happens when preparation fails. Around the world, tectonic plates continue to grind unseen yet unstoppable. And if this earthquake is a warning, the next one may demand even more from us. So, stay aware, stay informed, and support those on the front lines of disaster recovery. If you care about natural disaster coverage, if you want real-time updates that matter, like this video, share it with others, and subscribe so you never miss critical alerts. We report the world's most powerful forces not to scare you, but to prepare you. Stay safe, stay ready, and as always, we'll be watching the Earth so you don't have to.